Hello Bellezas, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Alright guys, hello. It has been a minute since I have sat down and recorded. It feels so weird. I think it's been over a month since I have actually recorded, because all the other videos that I've posted I had pre-recorded all in one sitting, and it's been, I think maybe it's been over a month, because it's been over 3 weeks since I've uploaded a new video, which I apologize for because I have not been able to get a chance to film. Like, I have no time during the week. I start late at work and then I end really late at work, and then in the morning I have to work out and yada yada yada, you know, the whole deal. I've talked to you guys about this various different times, how I have a full-time job and it's really hard to get in extra time to film. And today I just happen to have extra time because I'm not hanging out with Brandon for most of the day today, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage and sit down and finally film a video for you guys, because it's been so long and I feel kind of nervous. Like, it took me so long to put my setup back like all together. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this and I forgot this, and yeah, it's been very stressful not being able to find time to film, because I feel like I was, you know, letting you guys down by not posting, and I feel like my engagement has gone down as well. But I mean, you know, this is life and stuff happens, and it's not my full-time job to be doing YouTube, so I just do it whenever I get the chance to. But anyway, sorry, I rambled on for a little bit in the beginning, even though I said we were going to jump right into the video. I mean, technically this is part of it, but yeah, I'm happy to be sitting here again with you guys, and I have another like highly requested kind of video, which is of La Mano Peluda. And this time I decided not to write myself a script, because I had listened to videos about this case various different times. I've heard them in Spanish, so a lot of it I'm like, I have to translate a lot of it, and then hopefully, like, fingers crossed that it comes through in the English version, which I appreciate that you guys enjoy these videos, because I know that a lot of them out there are in Spanish only and they don't do any kind of translating. So I'm glad that I can help you guys still be able to like hear about these stories in English, right? But anyway, yeah, today's case, as I said, is gonna be where we're gonna be talking about La Mano Peluda, and today is gonna be el caso de Clarita. And I just quickly wanted to clarify that this specific recording, it actually took place on a show that was called La Mano Pachona, and that used to be the name of La Mano Peluda, so that's the original show, and it was hosted by Victor Manuel Barrios, and he was the person reading the stories, or, you know, calling out, and he was the host of the show, as I said. And after that it transitioned into La Mano Peluda, but it was all on the same radio station, I believe, and it was all during like the 1990s. So I think between 1993 and 1995 is when it was called La Mano Pachona, and Victor Manuel was on as the host, and then it, as I said, it transitioned over after that, and they changed the name of it, and they changed the time that they airing it as well. So this show would take place at 3 in the morning, and if you guys don't know, if you haven't watched any of my other Mano Peluda videos, or if this is your first time crossing on to one of these videos, La Mano Peluda was is a very popular Mexican radio show where they would tell paranormal stories, or they would tell about like different horror or terror kind of subjects, or people would call in and tell their own stories that they have personally experienced, or of somebody that they knew that experienced a paranormal event or something of the sort. and that was basically the premise of the show, and it was very popular. And up until this day, I think it's still running and it's being hosted by other people, but La Mano Peluda was mainly hosted by Juan Ramon Sainz and then Ruben as well. I'm forgetting Ruben's last name, but he was one of the hosts as well. From its time running in 1995 to today, it's had various different hosts, but as I said, those were the most popular. And there's like a handful of calls that have become very much popularized up until this, today's date, and that people still talk about, even though it's been like years since those calls were made. Anyway, that's kind of the gist of what La Mano Peluda is. And in today's story, the caller's name is Clara or Clarita, and she calls in to basically tell her story about what's going on currently. And this call starts off with Clarita talking about how she has a 15-year-old son who ends up playing the Ouija board. She said that she found out that he played the Ouija board. Ever since this happened, he has been acting really strange. And she basically tells him that her son is a Boy Scout, he is a good boy, he has good grades, he does well in school, and that she has never had a problem with him. And during this entire call, Clarita is very distressed. She is crying, she is nervous, her voice is shaking, and she's trying to get her story out. And
Mi hijo es scout, un chico pues de lo normal, con una calificación en la escuela pues de 9. El año pasado me sacó un promedio de primer lugar. Y ahora todo lo que acontece en mi casa él lo sabe. Yo sé que ahorita usted no me lo va a creer, pero todo lo que...
I also want to tell you guys that while I'm telling you what happened, I will also be inserting clips of the actual audio. That way you guys can get a sense of what she sounded like, and you can get a sense of like her emotions and how real it feels and how genuine it feels, because it genuinely feels like she is scared and she's in distress and she doesn't know what to do. And the whole point of this call is that she wants to get help because nobody believes her story. Nobody wants to help her. She has gone out and tried to get help from other people like priests and church and spiritualists, and they either don't want to help her or they can't help her. They don't know like basically what to tell her. So because of this, she ends up calling. Anyway, just, I got a little bit sidetracked. Just wanted to mention that really quick before we commenced. But yeah, she says that after her son had started playing this Ouija board, he started acting really strange. And she says that it all started with him kind of predicting things a little bit. Like he was foreseeing things and telling her stuff that he knew before anyone else told her. For example, she said that whenever somebody would knock on the door, her son would immediately tell her, oh, it's such and such, and they're here for this, before she had even reached the door. And then she would open the door, and of course it was the person that he just said was at the door. It was unexpected. It was kind of like a random thing. The person was knocking, asking for a favor or whatever, and it was unplanned. And then also she had a sister who lives in Cancun, and she had received a call from her. And before this call, her son had actually told her, oh yeah, your sister or my aunt said she moved to a different location. And then once her sister had called her, she told her the news, like, hey, I just moved. And obviously Clarita was very surprised that her son had known this before she did. And she even asked her, like, did you tell my son already that you were moving or that you had moved? She's like, no, I hadn't told anybody, because it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. So this really scared Clarita, and it really had like made her think like what's going on. And then she also says that his behavior overall has been so different. Like he doesn't sleep, he barely eats, and he's been very like distant from her. And she also says that I know he's 15. In this part, I'm just gonna say he is 15, and we all know you go through puberty when you're 15. And she said that he grew a significant amount, like in height. She said that he went from like 1.6 something meters. I don't know. I forgot to convert this, but I'll put it right here on a little text here. But he went from 1.6 something meters. I think it's meters, metros. I'm not really sure. To 1.82. I don't know what the significant amount is for that, but I'm guessing it's a lot because she said that it wasn't normal because it was in such a short amount of time, because obviously you have like a growth spurt at some point, but not like overnight, it's not like that. And this specific part actually made me think of that YouTube channel where they do like fake paranormal investigating, and I don't remember the name of it. I just saw it on Cinnamon Toast Ken's channel. Okay, I quickly took a pause, that way I could actually look up the last 2 facts that I was talking about. So she said that he grew from being 5'3" to 5'11". So mama, that is not, I don't think that's normal. I'm like, there's no way he grew that many inches overnight, so definitely weird, strange thing to happen. And as I was saying, so it reminded me of that YouTuber. I think it's like Lux. It's like the Lux guys. I don't know. I'll put their channel on here, that way you guys can see it. But there was like a case that they received where her son like grew, but this guy like grew like feet, in the air, and he's like this tall, like weird looking guy, and then they're acting like this guy's a normal looking person, and he's obviously not, and it's obviously somebody in like a costume or whatever, but for some reason it reminded me of that. But anyways, another sidetrack. So she ends up saying that he grew up in height, and then also that the people that he used to hang out with don't hang out with him anymore, and he's just very odd, and it's really scaring her. And then during this call as well, she ends up saying that while she's on the phone with them, she went and looked into her son's room, and she saw that he was levitating from like above his bed. She's crying, and she's telling him, she's like, you're not gonna believe me, I know you're not gonna believe me, but I'm looking at him right now, and he looks like he's dead, but he's just floating from his bed, and he's in the air right now.
Y ahorita que me asomé no me lo va a creer. Está levitando. Tiene, ¿qué le dice? Como medio metro elevado del piso. Y no importa que me hagan ruidos ni nada. Ella me dijo que eso ni lo ve, ni lo oye, ni lo siente. Por favor, si hay alguien que me pueda decir a dónde acudir.
O sea que en este momento él está levitando.
Mire, él está acostado y está levantado medio metro de su cama. Sé que no me lo cree. Yo sé que nadie me lo cree, solamente yo que vivo con él y que lo estoy viendo. Y no sabe usted ni los nervios que se sienten, no sabe uno si correr, si rezar, yo ya no sé qué hacer.
I can't imagine what the people listening to this call at the time, the people in the recording studio were thinking while she was telling all of this, because obviously this is something that's hard to believe, that somebody's telling you that, they're watching their son levitating from like above their bed, and she's just, telling them this over the phone. And Victor Manuel is like, you're telling me that at this moment, while we're on this call together, you're watching your son levitating. She's like, yes, he's levitating. She's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I need help, so on and so forth. And she tells Victor Manuel as well, she had seen the Ouija board in her son's room, and she had grabbed it and like tossed it on the floor, because she was kind of like over all of this stuff happening. She was scared, and she was like, we need to get rid of this, and she doesn't know like what could have happened with this Ouija board, but she just knows that it's the cause of her son acting this way. So she grabs it, she tosses it on the floor, and her son looks at her and says, don't mess with that, like you don't know what you're messing with. And after that, things just kind of got worse, and things just kept escalating, and he starts acting even worse.
Yo tiré la ouija, pero no aún fuera del lugar, sino al tirar quiere decir que la arrojé. Me dijo, no lo hagas, mamá, no te metas con ella. Pasó, y ya ahorita todas las noches no me despierto, casi no duerme, come muy poquito. Y hace 3 días mi hermano también tuvo otro problema. Todo me lo notifica, todo me lo dice. Y él dice que no me meta yo con esa tabla, que esa tabla no es un pedazo de madera, pero ya no es igual.
Even though he has good grades in school, he starts coming back from school kind of acting like he like knows everything now, and he's like smarter than his teacher, and he's saying that he was laughing because he had a class, like a math class, and he actually corrected the teacher and taught her how to do something, and he was laughing kind of maniacally and making fun of this whole thing. And you know, even that was kind of out of character for Clarita, and that was another event that happened where she knew that there was something seriously wrong with her son, and not just something normal, like it's not just like her son being rebellious or anything like that. And as you guys hear during the clips, Clarita is just very desperate, and she's very unconsolable and agitated, and you know, all of the above. And Don Manuel is just kind of trying to calm her down, saying that he knows how she feels, and that he knows that why she feels anxious and nervous and scared, because all of this sounds just crazy, even though it's hard to believe that she's going through all of this. Because I mean, at that point, I wouldn't know what to say to her with all of the emotion that she's talking with, and you know, the way that she's acting. It's very impactful, and of course he's just, the only thing that he can really tell her is that to stay calm, and that they're gonna try to send somebody to help her. Throughout this whole call, she just keeps saying that she's looking at him and that he's doing strange things, and she keeps saying, you're not gonna believe me, no one's gonna believe me, you're not gonna believe me. And she's saying that she's seeing him, that he's walking without touching the ground, and you know, all of this stuff.
Señor Víctor Manuel, perdóneme, estoy muy nerviosa.
No, por supuesto que debe estar muy nerviosa, sobre todo que es su hijo y lo ve que está en problemas, porque la verdad es que lo que ha sucedido con él por estar trabajando con la ouija es que alguien se introdujo en su cuerpo y ahora le está usando a él.
No me hace nada, no rompe nada.
No, ya sé.
No, señor Víctor Manuel.
Pero la tensión en que usted está, los nervios en que usted está, es capaz de que sea usted la que termine mal y no él. Entonces yo le suplico que se calme, que se tranquilice. En estos momentos, si nos están escuchando nuestros amigos de Justicia y Bienestar Social, le vamos a dar, nos da usted su domicilio, por favor.
Yeah, after this, she just kind of keeps crying over the phone, and then he finally says, you know, we're gonna send somebody to help you. As I said, he tells her, you know, we just need you to send us your address, that way we can have somebody go over there and take a look at the situation and see how we can help you. And after this, the telephone call cuts off, and they were unable to get her information before they ended the phone call.
Sin pisar, no me lo cree, no me lo cree, no me lo cree, no me lo cree nadie, no me lo cree, no me lo cree, no me lo cree, no me lo va a creer nadie, esto no me lo cree nadie, Dios
Señora,
mío,
tranquila.
Dios mío, no me lo cree esto nadie.
They were gonna get her details first before hanging up with her, and that way they could call her separately and try to get her address, that way they could send somebody out. But this unfortunately didn't happen. They couldn't get a hold of her because at the time they used to not ask the callers for their information in case the line got cut off, and they also didn't have caller ID, so they were unable to get a hold of her again, and they kind of were just waiting to see if maybe she would call back, and maybe the line got cut off on accident, or who knows, maybe something bad had happened, but there was no way for them to know because they had no further communication with her. I would like to say there was more to the story, but there really wasn't. They were never able to get in touch with her again, and then the following days they kept asking for anybody who had information on Clarita if they could reach out to them and help them get in touch with her again, if anybody had her phone number or knew where she lived, to just get in touch with them. And then actually 3 days later, this one I wasn't able to confirm, and it's something that hasn't been confirmed, but there was a caller who was like a young man that called back into the radio station. I guess not during the show, maybe they just called the office or something like that. That's what I kind of figured it was. And they were saying all this stuff that didn't really make sense. They were saying, I told you to not mess with it. I told you they were gonna kill you. I told you not to mess with me. And you heard it in the recording. They told you not to mess with this. And then he just kept repeating it. And obviously whoever answered, I don't know if it was the host or somebody who worked there, but they were asking him, like, what are you talking about? They were kind of confused. And then they were like, listen to the recording again. You'll hear it. I told you not to mess with it. And that was kind of it, and they hung up. And as I said, this is unconfirmed, but then the people at the radio station went back and listened to the audio for Clarita's recording, and I think this might be in the original audio before they edit it and put it on the radio station, because I don't think these are live. I feel like they're pre-recorded and then they play them on the radio, but I'm not 100% sure. So because I feel like maybe they had to do that in the past, because if they were getting people's information or personal details, maybe they had to edit it out, kind of go through the audio and make sure that there's no personal details left in there. So I'm guessing they were probably pre-recorded, but they said that they went back and listened to it and they could hear, like, in the background that somebody kept repeating that same thing, telling them that she needs to stop getting help, that if she keeps reaching out, that she's gonna get killed, they're gonna kill her, something along those lines. And that was in the background of the audio where Clarita was telling her story. And as I said, this might be in the original one, because in the one that's uploaded on, YouTube, and that was on the live show that somebody recorded off of the radio station, they add music in the background and they add audio effects to kind of, I don't know, make it more creepy or amplify the eeriness of it, something like that. But they add audio and background noises. So also, I forgot to say that in the beginning, but the audio is like not 100% the best quality. As I said, it was from the 90s, and on top of that, they edited the hell out of it, so it's kind of hard to hear her in some of the parts, which I'm gonna have subtitles for it anyway in English. But yeah, so I guess they heard that in the playback of the original audio, and they were kind of just like, what the hell, like, this is so weird. And they were really astonished that they don't know if it was the son who was saying it or if it was like a demonic voice in the background. They're really unsure, but they hadn't caught it while they were on the phone with her until they went back and really listened to the audio. Another unconfirmed event that somebody wrote about was that there was another man who had called in, and he was really concerned, and he had said, I have information about the lady that you guys have been looking for, Clarita. He says that she was like a caretaker of the building, like she took care of the maintenance at the south side of the city of Mexico, and he said that he knew where she lived and that they lived in the same, I guess, complex, like it was like an apartment complex, and that the night where she had called in to La Mano Pachona, he says that they were, like, him and a group of guys were sitting, like, in the apartment area. I'm not really sure if it was, like, in the common area or something like that. He said that they started hearing, like, crying and screaming, and then they saw that it was coming from Clarita's apartment complex. They all went up there. Him and a bunch of these other guys went up there, and they, like, started knocking. Clarita came running out the door, and she was crying, and they were like, what's wrong? And she was saying that she doesn't know what's wrong with her son, that all she knows is that he's trying to kill her. and they went in there trying to see what was going on and trying to see if they can get the situation under control. Well, first, before they went into the house, because Clarita was like in such distress, he's like, who's trying to kill you? She points to her son's room, and they all go in there to look, and they open the door, and he's standing there, and he tells them, you're not gonna believe this, but he's levitating. And he was saying that he was holding a knife which had blood on it, and he had this chilling smile on his face. He's like, I don't know how he was doing the smile, but it was a smile that went from ear to ear, and it looked unnatural. And he said that all they could do was like look at him, and they all like ran out of the apartment, and they took Clarita away from the apartment, and all that they could really do was call a priest. And then he said after we called the priest, and then the call got cut off, and they couldn't get a hold of this guy again because they didn't get his details while they had him on the line, because he kind of just called in and started rambling about this whole story and like saying that he knew where Clarita was, blah blah. They were still unable to find out where this apartment complex was or what happened to Clarita and her son after this. All they knew is that they ended up calling a priest for him, and then after that nothing else is known about Clarita or her son. And yeah, that's basically the whole story. Very impactful, very crazy, and the audio itself is what really makes it. And the story, of course, it's crazy, and her son was clearly possessed by something, and it was all because he played with the Ouija board, and he must have tapped into some kind of portal, right? Because I know when it comes to demons, you would think like, oh, they're powerful. It seems like they're powerful beings, but it feels like they also have minimal amount of control over our dimension. So I feel like that's why people, when they're like, oh, it's just a piece of wood, how could this conjure up a demon? If a demon was like able to do all this crazy stuff, why wouldn't they just do it without needing like a game essentially to get into our world? And I feel like the Ouija board is kind of like a portal that you give them access to enter, and I feel like that's the only way that they can cross and, you know, mess with our life here, or mess, you know, with the person's life who opened this portal. Basically, I feel like that's the only way they can get it and cross over into this dimension, is when people give them that opportunity or open a door, basically, or give them access. Yeah, as I said, guys, that is it for this. Unfortunately, I don't have much else that I could say. I wish that I knew that they had been able to reach out to her and that something else was able to be done for her. But hopefully those people in her apartment, after witnessing this, believed her and then actually got her some kind of help with somebody who, you know, is a professional in this, you know, an exorcist or whatever. But let me know what you guys thought about this case, and sorry if this was all over the place. Like, I kept going back and forth with details because I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. But that's what happens when I don't have a script. I'm just like, I kind of forget what order things happened in, and I'm like, am I forgetting something? And I definitely end up forgetting something. And so if you guys know anything else about this case that I didn't cover, make sure to leave it in the comments, or if you guys have heard about anything else that has to do with this case, that way I can read them, and then everybody else can kind of also get some more information, because this was a very intriguing case. It was a very impactful one, as I said, which I get why it's a popular one amongst all the other calls from La Mano Peluda, or La Mano Pachona. And that's gonna be it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end, and thank you for listening to me ramble and get my facts all jumbled up in my head, and I was not able to get half of them out. I feel like I'm gonna take a long time editing this one and cutting out a lot of stuff because I felt like I was all over the place. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did make it all the way to the end of this video, make sure to leave a little fire emoji in whatever comment that you leave me down below. That way I know who stayed all the way to the end of the video. And before I do end the video completely as well, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And yeah, guys, that is it. Thank you so much again for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Love you guys so much. Bye bye.